I'm Cameron. I'm assigned female at birth, and I am trans and bisexual. A lot of things going on right now are affecting both sets of those communities, but they've been affecting people of color for a lot longer. But I do want to talk about how, with the recent overturning of Roe versus Wade, as well as the rush and wave of anti-trans laws affecting the youth, and how we can help even if you don't want to protest. So if you do want to protest, there's also some tips in here as well. So the first thing I want to talk about is how education is key. So a lot of things that I've seen people forget is that on TikTok, primarily, that's the main thing that I see people on, is all about dressing up for protests, and that's great, except for what about the education behind it? You can repeat all this information all day long, but if you don't know what it means, then you don't know what it means. And there are people around you that could probably help you, but you also could look it up on the internet. I personally have decided to start going through the Supreme Court websites to understand what they're talking about, what's being overturned, what's not, what's going into case in each legislation in each state that me and my friends might be affected by, as well as in general. A good way to do that is to go through their website. So the Supreme Court has their own website that you can go through. They have auditory recordings as well as written recordings to help you see what the process was for each argumentative day and each miscellaneous day that they have. Some cases don't seem to have records, but once I Google them, the records pop up. Their website, to me, is just a little bit confusing. But one of my biggest things that have been a lifesaver for me is, as a trans person, is going to freedomforallamericans.org. I don't know who really runs this, unless that's the name of the company. Like, Freedom for All Americans. It's an education fund. So, from what I can tell, I really don't know exactly what this company is, and you always should research. So I've never donated money to them before because I don't know exactly what this is. I can't find a lot of information on them. But it is very easy to track anti-transgender bills, anti-LGBT bills, pro-LGBT discrimination bills or non-discrimination bills, and policies that are going to affect the community. That is a good way to figure out what is going on in your specific community. For example, Tennessee's HB 2154, which is the public school system where they ban books based off of what parents want in the community, which affects the LGBT community and people of color a whole lot more than it ever would affect the cis and heteronormative people, so cis, het, and white, as well as transitioning bills, the restricting of transitioning, the restriction of athletic activities. And it is good to know what bills are being passed, what bills are being talked about being passed, so you know what to go against or what to talk to your community about. Going off of talking to your community, a good way to get involved in the community is social media, or finding local chapters of different organizations in your community you can go to. In Charlotte, there is a LGBT youth community as well as a larger chapter for adults as well. I never participated in it, but I do know it exists because I have a friend that participated in it. As well as the area I live in now has a women's community to help with women's health care and other things that may be affected. Reaching out on Facebook or Instagram is a great way to connect with people that know what's going on and have conversations about the community and how to help your specific community. Going off of that, Facebook is a great way to find protests as well. So my community and the pro-choice organization, as well as the human rights organization, and it came up with protests immediately, communities, donations to help the community, and currently you can also, yes, the bill for the trigger bill was stopped. It is currently on hold for the trigger law to be activated. So currently it is not in effect, but it doesn't mean that there's not a lot to work to be done. And so I would never have known that if I wasn't on an email list for these protests from actually Planned Parenthood. Their website also has a list of protests going on in all nationwide, basically. And you can type in your address and they'll give you information about it. All you have to do is put in your zip code. You don't have to put anything else in there. They will occasionally email you, but you do not ever have to give out your private information if you do not feel comfortable doing so. You do not have to protest. You do not have to give out any of your personal information to be able to help this. So back in 2021, I actually found out about the protests in my area off of Instagram and from friends or colleagues. I wouldn't call them friends, colleagues that I went to college with. I never really talked to them before, but they publicly posted about it and I saw that, so I did research on it and then I participated in it. So another way that you could help without going to these protests is sharing this information to people in your area or on your social media that may see it and be like, okay, great, I want to do this. Another way that social media could help is you share the information you learned. So let's say you did all of that research about the Supreme Court, but you don't have people to talk to face to face or on the phone. You can publicly post it on your platform. You can let everybody know how you feel and why you feel this way. Because I feel like not letting children socially transition is deafening, because suicide rates for children is higher in the LGBT community than anywhere else. And schools banning that and possibly outing them to dangerous situations is harmful. And I make that known on public platforms because everyone deserves to know that each person has a right to live and a right to live how they free, regardless of your religion. Or sharing other information that you may learn. But don't forget to do your research, like the Oklahoma bill. Oklahoma versus Castro. Castro? Yes, Castro. Recently was 5-4 Supreme Court majority, where the state now holds higher precedent when prosecuting non-Native American people on the reservation that committed crimes on the reservation. And that does nothing but hurt the community. It hurts the indigenous women that were already under attack by our government. So that bill will affect the women that are sexually assaulted or murdered. They are already very underrepresented and underheard by the outside community, and it does nothing but lessen their rights, even though they were here first, if that makes sense. And so you can learn about that and then publicly post about it, because that is a great way. Get more people to know about it and more people to help. You could also donate money to people, like I mentioned earlier. I know this video is like not 100% in a row, but I want to get all of this out and I want to express this. I bring that up because the way I found out about this case was through a random website that was asking for money. I did some research, and that website, literally that money would have went to nobody. But you have other organizations that you want to look into, like the Trevor Project. So it's an LGBT suicide hotline, as well as helping the community further itself. But you also have Human Rights Campaign, you have Planned Parenthood, you have the Women's Rights Movement, you have the Black Lives Matter, and even with the Black Lives Matter organization, you have smaller sections in different places, like Chicago has one, I think Illinois also has one. I'm sure other places do, but those are the main two that I hear about. And you could donate money to them that help, or you could contact your local charities and ask them how they want help. Do they want money? Do they need supplies? Do they need water for the protesters? Do they need food? Do they need somebody to come in and help make posters, even if you're not going to march? There's so many things that you can do to help get this information out there that not a lot of people talk about. Also, going off of that, helping out the community is going to help this a lot. I know this video is everywhere and it's probably not the best quality, but it does not matter that it's not the best quality, because this video is about helping things that affect you or don't affect you. Let's say you're cis and you're straight and you're a woman. Just because the anti-trans laws doesn't affect you doesn't mean it doesn't affect your kids or your friends. and it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect the people of color community way more. So this video is a little bit of everywhere, and I really just wanted to get it out, talk about what you can do to help. There's also so many other things. So let's say you're an artist. You can do performative art, protestial art. So performative protesting art. So there are so many different ways to do that. There's documentaries about it. You can do music that is based on this. Your art has a voice if you are an artist. So art encompasses a lot of things. So it's writing, canvas, drawing, digital, books, photography, cinematography, dance, any other form of movement, you know, and you could always use that to get a message across. There are so many plays, theater, that are protest pieces or interactive art or protest art, and I think that's another thing that should be talked about and you could also do. Even if you don't feel like you're making a difference, your art is making a statement, and that in itself is going to get people interested in the topic or invested in looking it up. I'm aware that there are some people that will never change their opinions no matter how much you drill it in their head, but that does not mean anything. You also got to think about why you want to do this. Why do you want to help? Because you're born female? No. Because it affects your reproduction rights. For example, Roe versus Wade affects you, your loved ones, your next door neighbor. It affects a lot of people. It affects contraception. It affects the privacy, your medical privacy. It affects your possibility of living through a pregnancy or not. It is your health care. Overall, it is health care. And having somebody take away your health care, just like LGBT health care at the moment, is dangerous. And that you should think about why you want to be doing this. And I know that sounds stupid, like of course I want to do this. But you can be angry all day long but not know why you're mad. And if you truly know why you're angry or why you want to get this point across, people are going to see that and listen to that. I don't really know what else to say in this video other than go out and talk to people, research, do whatever you can that you think is right. Because overall, you know what's best for you and you know how to help your community. And even if you are a minor, it does not mean you can't do something. I have 2 different minors in my area that have already set up protests in the area. And that is huge. Okay, so the main thing is that we need to be listening to those that have been doing this longer than we have. Protesting isn't for everyone. The arrest sits, the protest where a bunch of people went and sat and blocked the street off and got arrested, that is not for everyone. Not everyone legally can get arrested, and so not everyone's status will be okay with them getting arrested. And that is something to keep in mind, is that we need to listen to what other people are saying that have been doing this longer, but also listen to what is right for you, because you may want to go out and protest, but you might not be able to, whether it be physically, mentally, or because of the situation, like your personal situation around you. And that is important to keep in mind as well. I'm gonna stop rambling now, and I'm just gonna end this video with do your research, help out however you can, and remember to check in with the people around you, because right now all we have is each other, because liberty and justice for all, since when? Okay. If you have any more tips, please comment them down below. I would love to have more tips on how to help, as well as other organizations that I could look into to donate to, as well as helping out anybody else. And if you have any questions, please also comment them. Okay. Bye.